Employees of escape room or similar puzzle-themed adventures, what's the worst case of you idiot that you've seen? I worked at an escape room in San Francisco when they first opened. It was one of those early trendy spots where every room had a theme, and the puzzles were supposed to be clever enough to make you feel smart without being impossible. I was still new, just a few weeks in, and figuring out how to manage people who took the whole immersive experience thing way too seriously. It was a Friday night, the place packed with groups who had pre-booked. I was running a first-floor room called the Detective Study, a cozy, slightly cramped space with bookshelves, a desk, and a lot of small locks and secret compartments. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that should have worried anyone. At least that's what I thought. The group I'll never forget walked in about 20 minutes later. There were 4 of them. Mark, the obvious ringleader, his friend Todd, and 2 others, Jess and Randy. Mark immediately started inspecting everything like he was auditioning for a heist movie. He was pulling books off shelves, lifting chairs, and poking at little hidden compartments. I was used to people being overzealous, so I mostly just watched, figuring he'd get bored eventually. Then Mark started lifting the floorboards. At first I didn't panic. The boards were old, yes, but nothing was supposed to move like that. I walked over thinking I'd gently intervene. Hey, the floorboards aren't supposed to come up. All the clues are on the surface, I said, trying to keep it casual. Mark waved me off. Don't worry, I just feel like there's something under here. I can tell. He started pulling more aggressively. I felt my stomach drop a little. These boards weren't meant to come up, and there were some nails sticking out that could have hurt him. While I was distracted, Todd suddenly shouted, "I can't do this anymore!" and turned toward the window. The room was on the first floor, so technically not that high, but it was enough to bruise a rib or worse if someone landed wrong. Before I could react, Todd literally jumped out the window. I froze. Mark just stood there holding the floorboard, looking confused, Jess gasping, and Randy frozen in place. I ran over, heart pounding, yelling, "Todd, are you okay?" He had landed awkwardly but wasn't seriously hurt. Scraped knees, maybe a twisted ankle. The group was stunned. Mark's mouth was hanging open like a cartoon, clearly trying to figure out if he should feel guilty or proud. I helped Todd up and ushered him outside while the rest of the group tried to explain themselves. Mark kept saying, "I was just trying to find the next clue. It has to be under there." Jess kept apologizing, and Randy just kept muttering, "I can't believe he jumped out the window." Over and over. Once everyone calmed down a little, I realized the absurdity of the situation. A grown man had jumped out a window because his friend was being thorough with some floorboards in an escape room. I tried to hide a laugh while keeping my voice serious. "Okay, let's take a breather. No more jumping, no more floorboards," I said. Eventually, we got back inside. Todd sat on the floor looking pale, rubbing his legs. Mark was sheepish, still holding onto the floorboard like it had been the key to the universe. I went over to the desk and pointed at a stack of puzzles on top. "All of these are clues. You don't need to rip the room apart." Mark nodded slowly, like I had just explained quantum physics. The rest of the session was tense. Every time Mark reached for something, Todd flinched. Jess kept trying to keep peace, and Randy just kept muttering about liability. I stayed in the room with them until they finished, making sure nobody else tried anything dangerous. Somehow they actually managed to finish the puzzle at the very end, though the victory felt hollow. After they left, I took a minute to collect myself and told my manager what had happened. He nearly laughed his head off, but also gave me a serious look. "You're never going to see anything like that again," he said. I doubted him, because by week 3, I had already learned that people will always find new ways to surprise you. It wasn't the first time someone had freaked out in an escape room, but it was the first time I genuinely thought someone was going to get seriously hurt because of a mix of overenthusiasm and poor judgment. I still think about that night sometimes, the way Mark looked so proud of himself while Todd flopped onto the grass outside, Jess frantically apologizing, and Randy just sitting in stunned disbelief. Years later, whenever I hear about escape room fails or UI stories, that moment always comes to mind. 4 grown adults, 1 floorboard, and a window. A recipe for chaos I'll never forget. By the end of that shift, I realized that managing escape rooms wasn't just about puzzles or logic. It was about managing pure human unpredictability. Some nights you think it's all fun and games. Then someone decides to jump out a window,